right, it's that time again. Mailbag. Mailbag.
We're going to jump right into the bag.
All right, so we got a question from a busy mom in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and she is asking, at what age would you feel comfortable leaving your child at home alone?
Okay, so you're dealing with this right now.
12 and a 14-year-old, yep.
I got a 5 and 3-year-old. Based on, I don't know, man. Okay, let me ask you this. What is the biggest fear of leaving the kid home? Is it them lighting the house on fire? Them getting an intruder? What is it?
No, I think it's all the above. I think when you leave your child at home, you have to worry about worst case scenario. I tend to poo-poo it, like, what are the chances? My wife is like, but what if, like in LA, you have to worry about, like, what if it happens to be the time you leave them home, we have the earthquake, right? An intruder, a fire, all those things. So I think you have to think about when the child is mature enough to handle those things, right? Are you going to let them use the stove? Can they turn it off? You know, can they call 911? Can they set the alarm? What are they going to do? I think you role play and you think about those scenarios, but do you have an age in mind?
I'm thinking 14.
Yeah.
14?
Yeah.
I'm thinking if Seraphina's 14 and Caruso's 12,
Right.
if they can't figure out how to shut the stove off at this age, I did something wrong, right?
I mean, I think if you asked me 5 years ago with a number, I wouldn't have had one. But I think when you go through it, you sort of see, and like you said, so my daughters are 14 and 12, and I would feel comfortable leaving them home alone, together, and the 14-year-old alone. I don't know that I would feel comfortable leaving my 12-year-old home alone. But then there's different situations, like maybe during the day for a short period of time. But I don't think going out at night for many, many hours. I don't know, it's that different.
I'm going to throw a wrinkle into
Yeah.
this. You're going to go into Starbucks.
Right.
You got a kid in the car. Do you always take your kid into where you're going, or do you ever leave them in the car? And what age is it appropriate to leave the kid in the car while you go in?
It's a good question. I always take them with me because I always scared what if. Those situations I always think what if. But when we started leaving the girls home for short periods of time, the rules were right. Like you can't use the stove, you can't use the oven, just because they know how to turn it off. And my older one loves to bake, but just what if you forget, And now we're a little more lenient about that. We've role played, like, what do you do if there's an earthquake? What if you do if there's an intruder? What, how do you get a hold of us? What's interesting. So states actually have laws on what age you're allowed to leave a child home. Because you have to remember, in some situations, parents have to leave kids home alone because they're both working parents and maybe they can't afford to have childcare.
Yeah.
So a lot of states don't have laws. So California, I looked this up. California actually does not have an age. So you can choose on your own. What do you think the youngest age a state actually declares an age?
This just popped into my head.
Yeah.
8.
So Kansas, 6 years old. Wow. Can you imagine leaving Seraphina alone at 6 years old to fend for herself?
I think she could do it.
Yeah.
Caruso, no.
All right. Well,
But Seraphina.
what's interesting? Probably a lot of kids could end up figuring it out, but I think it's the fear the parents have, right?
Oh, yeah. No, I definitely think it's the fear of the parents. To go back to that car reference, what age do you think it's appropriate to leave your daughter alone in the car while you get a cup of coffee?
I think when she starts driving, maybe.
16. Okay.
Yeah. So this is interesting. So Kansas is 6 years old. Maryland, where I'm from, and Georgia were 8 years old. And then there's a bunch of 12-year-olds like Mississippi, Delaware, Colorado. But Illinois, you can't leave a child home until they're 14.
Oh, we would have been
Right?
arrested.
So
I think I was home at 10.
yeah, so it's really interesting. Most states are none, but they range most of them between 8 and 12 years of age. I thought Kansas was interesting, 6 years of age. And then some of them do have extra specifications, like it may be 6, but only during the day for so many hours, not late at night. But it's an interesting thing that comes up with parents. I think that's sort of a comfortability factor, right?
Especially Los Angeles. I think the fear is here. Everything is volatile.
Right.
you're living in the northwest suburbs of, say, Illinois, odds are, well, I don't know. Our house got broken in 3 times growing up.
Yeah.
So who am I to say? And we could have been in the house.
Well, did you ever babysit?
No.
No. Because I'm trying to think, like, how old were my babysitters? I mean, they weren't so much older, probably early teenagers.
14,
and 15, they were taking
yeah.
care of us. So it's not only like they were left home alone, they were put in charge of other humans.
Yeah. Do you remember a babysitter that you had growing up?
I remember a girl from a couple doors down.
What was her name? Do you remember?
I don't remember her name.
Was she hot?
I remember having a crush on her.
Okay, I had a crush on her name was Jackie.
Yeah.
Jackie. Oh, Jackie. I'm debating whether or not to say her last name. No, we'll just leave it at
You got a story? Yeah.
Well, not on a story. It was
You
just
always
like,
dress up for her?
I put a little cologne on.
Yeah. A little down.
But yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. All right. So for all our listeners out there,
What's up, Jackie?
send in your comments. Love to hear at what age you first left your child home alone. That'd be great.
Also, I would like to hear from a different generation on this. I'd like to ask my father, maybe my mother, what age they were left alone.
Yeah.
Because I feel like back then they were left alone a lot younger than, So those of you that are in your 60s or 70s, if you know how to comment, which I highly doubt you do, no, that generation, I would they don't know how to comment on stuff like this. No, as far as like to do it. Yeah,
It's just
like does your mom and dad
give
know
me-
how to comment?
No,
they were watching a
do
video.
not.
No,
Well, my dad and your dad's gonna call us and be like, "Hey, I did it," and we're like, "Yeah, just." But now we're not on, so you can't. Nobody's hearing you speak.
maybe we'll get video footage of my dad.
We should call one episode. We got to call your dad. We got to call my dad. We got to figure out some things.
Yeah, we'll get the dads on here and we'll have a ball with them.
The opinions expressed in this program are not intended as professional medical advice, as a diagnosis, as a treatment protocol, or as a substitute for professional medical advice from your physician. Please consider your own medical history and consult with your own physician for your specific healthcare and/or medical needs and about your concerns for yourself and your family.